Hey everyone, Raylo from Raylo Vapes here. So, I've been getting a lot of people asking me questions, asking me when I was going to go ahead and do the full review on the Zephyrus RTA slash Clearamizer slash Sub Tank. Well, here it is. We're going to go ahead and do, I guess, a full review, even though I did a fairly lengthy first look review on this. Main thing though that I wanted to do this video for is to show you guys how to properly build and wick on the Rba section of this device, because I've been getting a lot of people having issues trying to figure out how to get it so it's not dry hitting and not flooding. It's a little tricky, and it took me a few tries before I actually got into it. But I guess I'll go ahead and do like a quick full review since I did a lengthy first look review. Let me go ahead and take a hit off of this real quick. So yeah, I'm really digging this thing now. The more I use it, the more I like it, and especially now that I figured out how to get that Rba section built perfectly and it's not frustrating like it was before, it's working a lot better now. But before I go any further and talk about this anymore and make this video any longer than it needs to be, let's go ahead and go down up close real quick and I'll show you guys the build that's in here right now. And after that, I'll come back, we'll do our pros and cons, since now I've used it for a couple weeks and I can explain it to you guys a little bit better, give you guys my solid opinion on it. And at the very end of this video, like I normally do, I'll go ahead and do a build tutorial for you guys on the Rba section of this tank. All right, you guys, so sit tight, be right back. All right, you guys, so here we go. So just like you saw in the first look video, here's the packaging that it comes in without the top, of course. And the parts that come with it, we have our heatsink fin adapter, we have our extra O-rings. These clear white ones are the ones that come stock, but I of course changed mine over to the blue since I'm using a blue one, and it also comes with red ones. It comes with one little extra screw and one extra O-ring, which I believe I found out was for the drip tip. Then of course you have this right here, which of course this is the stock coil head that comes with it. Yikes, that's really shiny bright. Let's get that out of the way. So as you can see here, it says 0.3 ohms. And you also have a warning that says 20 to 50 watts. And of course you have the ceramic down here. You have your peak insulator, and this is where your airflow comes in. And this is where your cotton is. I was going to try and take this apart, but sadly I still have not received any extra coil heads, so I don't really want to damage this until I have some extra coil heads. So hopefully I'll get these by next week. Maybe I'll do a quick video and take this apart and show you how this thing is so I don't damage it. And of course you get your extra piece of glass here, which is good. One thing I did have an issue with is people have been having problems since this is kind of packaged in with this, that their spare glass was coming broken. So if you end up having an issue like that, contact the vendor that you bought it from, or double check it before you leave a store. If you bought it online, take a look. If there's an issue, go ahead and contact the vendor. I'm sure they'll replace it for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Zephyrus. So we have, of course, our drip tip that comes with it. We have our top cap here, and then you got your little grommet that is used for filling. So you got those two holes right there. You got this cute little red grommet that just pops right in, pops right out. And of course you have mighty big airflow going straight down into your build. Now, I'll show you guys the trick that I use when I want to open this thing up so I don't have to worry about, cutting my hands. People were saying they were cutting themselves trying to grab onto this threading. You don't need to open it that way. The easiest way to open this thing is just grab by the base and unscrew it like so. Hey, top cap's coming off. Just like that. So that's how you would take this thing apart. Let me go ahead and get the juice off of this real quick. Now I will show you the build that I have on here. Let's go ahead and zoom this in for you. Okay, so here is the build that I have on here, which of course I will go ahead and do this build after we finish with this review slash, I guess, quick look part 2. So here you go. You can see I used 26 gauge dual coil, and I believe this is a 7 wrap or an 8 wrap. Comes out at 0.4 ohms. And if you look here, you can see how I did the cotton wick. And of course, once I do the build tutorial, I'll show you guys in a little bit more detail, of course, and I'll walk you through this whole process. But you can see I do have cotton down into the juice well, or the juice channels, but not all the way. Halfway, and it's very, very light cotton, which of course you'll see in the build tutorial after this is all done. This is the best way that I've found to wick this, and I've done it 9 different ways. I've tried the pancake method where there's no cotton in the channels, and I tried that a couple different ways, and then I've done a few where I stuffed the channels and then went lighter and then went less and then put some up here and only a quarter of the way and yada 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 yada. I tried a bunch of different methods until I figured this one being the best. All right, so there's that. If you really want to see, you know, up close and what the deck is, you can see the air holes there and all that good stuff. Go ahead and watch the first look video, and that will show you a little bit more detail on the review portion of this itself. And of course, you got 2 by 12 millimeter air hole, which of course are completely adjustable. If my hands weren't all covered in juice right now, but you can go ahead and close those up all the way if you want, open them all the way up if you want, or wherever you want in between. All right, guys, so that's pretty much the up close. Of course, you got your glass. You have your little O-rings that just pop in or out depending on what you want to do. You got your chimney in there. You got a very greasy, oily, juicy looking thing going on there. So yeah, that's that. And of course you have your pin right here at the bottom, which is adjustable. The way that I've suggested to do this, which I also talk about in the first look video, is before you install your Rba head, you can see the pin right down there, and you just get something that can pop it out like that, push it all the way up, then screw in your Rba head or screw, oh geez, all juicy, then screw in your Rba head or your pre-built coil, and you will be good to go. All right, guys, so that's the up close portion of this. Let's go ahead and go back into regular mode, where I will talk about this some more, let you guys know what my opinion is, pros and cons and all that good stuff. All right. Hey guys, so there we are. You got to see another up close on this. You got to see the build that I've been using, the wicking that I've been using, and of course when you stick around at the end of this, we'll go ahead and dive down step by step. I actually just did it right now before coming back and doing this portion to show you guys how to properly wick and build this. So the coil that I'm now using, the wick that I'm now using, is the exact one that I'm going to be doing at the end of this video. So let me go ahead and take another hit off of this and enjoy my 45 minutes of making this coil and wick. Okay, maybe not 45 minutes. It took me like 20 minutes, but it's really hard to do on camera, as you'll see if you stick around for the build tutorial, which, of course, that's probably why you're watching this right now anyway. You'll get to see me suffer through that. So, instead of me really talking too much more about what the Zephyrus is, you know, and all of that good stuff, since I already kind of did that in the up close, you know, first off, let's go ahead and say where you can get this. You can go ahead and get this at kidneypuncher.com. I'll go ahead and put the post or the link down in the description. I also now work for kidneypuncher.com. So, of course, I'll let you know that that right now as you're watching this. But we have it right now at kidneypuncher.com for $34.95, which is a slamming deal for this awesome tank. So the build I have on here now, which for some reason is registering at a 0.5 on my iStick 50, but it's a 0.4. So let's go ahead and just talk about pros and cons and what I feel after using this now for the last few weeks. So let's go ahead and talk about cons first, because there are some cons on this, and this is not that it makes this any worse or anything like that, but let me just go ahead and tell you the issues that I've run into while using this. Now, if you're using the pre-built heads, there really isn't any cons for me. It works really well with the pre-built heads. The flavor's on point with the pre-built heads. Everything works really well. I don't have any leaking issues. I have no flooding issues. I have no gurgling issues. I get a nice, solid, warm, flavorful vape. Now, The RBA head. The RBA head is a pain in the ass. And I'll explain to you why. So there's really no room for you to place wick on the deck itself of the RBA head. That's my like one con that really makes this difficult, because now you are forced to put wick in the juice channels. And now when you're putting wick in the juice channels, it should be easy if it was like a bottom fill or something like the Goliath, where you could close off the juice flow. But the problem that you run into now is, since you have top fill, so when you take off this and you pop off your little red grommet that's in there, you've now opened up the vacuum. The vacuum is no longer sealed. So what ends up happening is, if you don't have the right amount of wick inside the RBA section and you have your airflow open, you now just have a full like run through of air running through your tank. So as you're filling it, it'll go in, it'll flood, and it'll leak out. And it happened to me a couple times. It took me probably, I want to say 9 times before I figured out a proper way of wicking it. So like pancake wicking does not work in this. It might work the first fill, but when you go back to try and fill it the second time, you're going to flood. Even if, well, first off, whenever you fill this, doesn't matter what you're doing, if you have the pre-built or this on, close off your airflow. It's not hard. Just turn it, close it off. It's still kind of open, but at least this way you're kind of helping to keep the seal tight. Now, with the RBA head, if, like I was saying before, I'm probably going to repeat myself right now, but with the pancake wicking, there's nothing preventing the juice from just flooding in when you open up the vacuum. So doesn't matter if you close off your airflow or not, you're probably going to end up getting some flooding, leaking, until like you seal everything back up and start vaping on it. So pay close attention in the rebuild portion of this. Not necessarily how to make the coils. The coils are pretty basic. It's just my typical 8 wrap, 2.5 millimeters, 0.4, 26 gauge Canthal. The wicking is very important. You really have to spend a lot of time trimming the excess and then saturating it, going back through and trimming it up again, making sure it's only halfway into the channel, not all the way through, and not sitting up on your deck. Otherwise, you're going to have flooding issues. There's no way around it unless you wick it the way I show you in the build tutorial. If for some reason you build it that way and you're still having issues, there is one thing you can do. You can take the chimney itself and do a half a turn. Just a half a turn. So tighten it all the way and go back it off about a half a turn. And that opens up your juice channels just a little bit more, especially if you're working with a high VG or a max VG juice. Probably a good thing to do. And if for some reason it's flooding, just go ahead and tighten it down. Some people are having issues with it, some people are not. So that's like the big con that I had with this until I figured it out. So this is, the RBA deck is really for advanced builders, advanced wickers, people that have done this before. If you're new to building, probably want to stay away from the RBA deck until you can kind of get your hands on some other devices and really learn how to build it. So that's my one big con. Otherwise, I don't have any other cons. Airflow on this is magnificent. You have more airflow than any other tank that's ever been created on the history of vaping. This does it. And it just keeps happening. Like the Goblin had it at 3. The Goliath wasn't necessarily the biggest. It was actually 2.8 millimeter holes. And then this one came out and it has the 4 3 millimeter air holes. Crazy air. Can you hear it? You can really hear the air. Oh, you know what? There is one more con that I had found. So when I have it wide open, like, you know, this, it's fairly loud, but if I open it halfway, you get this. You hear that? It sounds like there's a fan in there. It totally sounds like the turbo. But there's no fan in there, let me tell you. It's just the way that the airflow goes in. So that is another con that I found with this. So If you're not really into having this completely wide open and you're going to close it off a little bit, just know that you're going to get that like kazoo sounding thing. But when it's open all the way, just sounds like air. Sorry, turned into a sweaty bastard here. It's pretty warm out here in Arizona. But yeah, pros though. Let's talk about pros. I talked enough about cons because it makes almost making it sound like it's a bad device. It's not a bad device. It's just meant for advanced builders. If you're not advanced, you got a pre-built head. Slap that sucker on, vape on it, you're going to be happy. This one, you're going to need a little bit more practice. So let's talk about pros. Pros for this, I really dig the fact that you get this little mini rifle drip tip, and then they give you the little heat sink adapter. I really like that, and I do use it actually on this because with the builds on here and the way how fat the chimney is, it does get pretty warm. So this actually does help prevent that. If you want to use your own drip tip, like I do like to use my, if I can find it, I do like to use the Vaptasia drip tip that I've been using forever. Thing's just awesome. It does have the Delrin, so it does keep it nice and insulated. Doesn't look half bad on there either. Kind of matches that big fat chimney. Looks like it just continues all the way up. So another pro, really like the colored O-rings on there. Really like the colored O-rings on there. I think that looks sharp with the blue on blue. If you got red on red, it would be nice if they would have had some black ones in there, because I know there's a lot of us out there that have black mods like I do somewhere. I'm not going to bother looking for it. It's too much trouble. Everything's scattered. But so that's another pro. The fact that it holds 5 mils of juice, and yes, it does hold 5 mils of juice. I did check this with a syringe. Did have someone try and tell me it only holds 2.5. I don't know what they were doing, but it definitely does not hold 2.5 mils. So holding 5 mils, really awesome. The fact that it comes with a replaceable glass tank already in there is great. Another pro, the pre-built heads are just fantastic. You have the Kogendo cotton in there, and yes, it is Kogendo Japanese organic cotton that is used in the coil heads. The dual coil, I really like the way it's set up. The fact that you have the ceramic deck kind of inside there, right on. I think that's great. That really does improve flavor. You do get less airflow, of course, than the Rba section. Rba section has just way more airflow than anything that's ever been out there. So pre-built head, you get really good flavor. It's nice, warm, dense flavor. Rba head, flavor's a little bit less. Say like compare it to the Goliath. If you have the Goliath, I would say it's just a hair less flavor than what I'm getting off the Goliath. And I get really good flavor off the Goliath. So with this one, you are going to lose a little bit of flavor, but you're increasing your airflow by more than double. And now you're getting like that airflow that you would get off of some of these like crazier RDAs that just have, you know, stupid, massive, crazy amounts of airflow. You get that with this one. The fact that you have the adjustable airflow down here at the bottom, and the fact that they made it thin and long, I like that because it shrinks the overall size. So if you had a like fatter height and kind of made it almost like a bigger oval shape, this whole thing would have ended up being bigger. So doing it this way shrinks everything down. Having the adjustable pin, 510 pin, really easy to use. You just kind of push it down, pop it back up, screw your thing down, you're good to go. And performance wise, it just performs really well once it's built and wicked properly. Yeah, I mean, I have no complaints. The top fill's great. I was I was a little angry with the top fill in the beginning until I figured out how to get it wicked properly, and now I have no issues. Just remember, I know I'm repeating myself here, whenever you fill it, doesn't matter which one you're using, the pre-built or the RBA section, close off your airflow at the bottom. Make sure you do that. And of course, remember to open it back up before you start vaping, or you might have a bad time. So that's very important. I want to make sure you guys understand that when you are using the top fill, you need to close off the airflow at the bottom. Some of you might not have to worry about it. Maybe it doesn't leak on you, but eventually you might end up having issues with it flooding if you leave that whole vacuum just completely wide open, just breaking the seal in every single section of this. So as long as you can keep a seal at the top or the bottom, you shouldn't have flooding issues. Another kind of pro con type thing, when you're filling this, I've found, so say instead of using a glass bottle with the glass dripper, I found it to be a lot easier to use plastic bottles with the little needle tip like that, because it just fits right into the top airflow, and you can fill this a whole lot faster. So when you're doing this and you have that seal open and you're sitting there and you're squeezing, 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 squeezing to fill up the 5 mils, you're opening up the seal for a long time, and you might end up getting some leaking because of that. All right, so I prefer filling this with the plastic bottles where I can just put it in and fill it that way. It's a lot easier and less risk of the seal being broken and you flooding out your head. Let's see. Anything else I can think of? This is already getting really long. Jeez, I've already talked for 14 minutes here. Whew, sorry about that. I think that's it, you guys. I think that's it. I talked about the cons that I had, the pros that I have. It's a really good tank, you guys. I can't knock it too much because performance wise, when built properly, it just works really well. It's just hard to build it properly. You have to be patient. So watch the build tutorial afterwards. I don't know if I'm going to put it anywhere, but yeah, just do that for me. All right, you guys. So there you go. That is my pros and cons thoughts. We did the whole up close thing. Everything's all happy, happy. So, oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, never mind. For some reason, my computer was getting ready to like stop working, but it's working now. Okay, so let me go ahead and finish that all over again. So thank you guys for sticking around and hearing me talk about the new Zephyrus tank, pros and the cons, how it all works, issues with building, and how to fill it properly and get all that good stuff out of the way. So if you want, stick around. Build portion is coming right up after this, and I'll teach you how to build your coils and wick it. Just make sure you do dual coil. This is a dual coil tank. This is not a single coil tank. If you only do single coil, you're going to have a bad time. So watch my build tutorial. I will show you exactly how this thing needs to be built, exactly how this thing needs to be wicked to get the best performance out of this tank. So there you go. Thank you for watching. If you're not going to stick around for the build tutorial, and this is where we part ways, as always, thank you so much for watching. If you're going to stick around and watch the build tutorial, rock on, right on. Hopefully it helps you. But for me, that's it. That's all you're going to see, this pretty face right here. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for liking my videos. And as always, vape on. All right, you guys. So here we are in the up close build tutorial section of this video. Couldn't figure out what I wanted to say. So basically what we're going to be using today, as you can see, Kanthal A1 26 gauge from kidneypuncher.com. So that will be the wire that we are using. I'll also be building my coils on the Coil Master, little Coil Master jig, because this thing makes life a whole lot easier. So we already got our piece of 26 gauge cut right here. Let's go ahead and feed that through. And we will make, or I will make, an 8-wrap coil. Let's go ahead and do that. It's kind of difficult to do on camera though. Okay, not gonna be able to do it on camera. Let me see. Do it this way. There we go. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3. This is not easy. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there we go. Now we got our 8-wrap coil here. Let me zoom in and show you this real quick. All right, so there you go. You can see we got a nice, beautiful, clean 8-wrap coil. I'm going to go ahead and adjust this, and I'll come right back and I'll show you how to install your coils. All right, so here you go. You can see your post. I have them all unscrewed to make this easier. Here is our coil. Let's go ahead and feed this through. Need to fix my wire here real quick. There we go. And of course, as always, leave one lead shorter than the other. So let's go ahead and feed that into our negative and one into our positive, just like so. And then we get this thing as close as humanly possible to our post without touching them. And then I take this and kind of just bend it over. Push it through and bend it into the middle like that. And once we have it placed where we want it, I kind of lift it up just a hair. And then we tighten our screws down. Once you get your negative tightened, go ahead and give it one more push over. That way it is centered where we want it. And let's go ahead and screw our positive down. Once you have it in place, you can adjust it a little bit more. This is not where I want it to be. There we go. Now, basically what I did, you could see it is very, very, very close to those posts, but not exactly touching it. And you could see it is centered directly above both of those airflow holes. See that? Centered perfectly. Oh, let's get it in focus. So that's exactly how you want to do it. I'm going to go ahead and install the next one. And a quick little tidbit, since you guys are always bitching at me if I'm not showing you how I install the second coil. Now you're looking and you're like, how am I supposed to get my second coil in there? Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and show you how I do this. So first things first, since this coil is already in place where it needs to be, we can just push it down. Oh, look at that. It's like magic. Now you see you have a open post hole. Let's flip this sucker around. I'm gonna cut my leads off real quick. Okay, so now you see here, we have our post hole. So same thing like we normally do. One goes through the negative, the other goes through your positive. But here's the trick. Now this one's going in my positive. Give it a little bend, just like that. See that nice little bend in there? So that way when I feed it through, it bends upwards and goes out of the way of our coil. This is very hard to do because my hand is about 2 inches from my camera lens. So I just push that on through, and look, it fed perfectly right around or right above where my other coil is. So just like before, we take this, position it where we want it, get it nice and close, push it on over, push it on over right into the center. It's kind of where we want it. Hold it in place. And now you get to see my thumb while I screw in my posts. All right, let me go ahead and show you this, right? So, get clear. So we'll go ahead and lift this up now and push it over, push it over. So now, let's see, are we there? Oh, I gotta get this on camera. Yeah, right where we want it. So let me go ahead and take off my leads here, and I'm gonna go ahead and tighten everything up because my camera is right here. It's very hard to screw on camera. So you guys don't need to watch me do that. Let me do that real quick. Be right back. Also, don't forget, remember, we bent this one down. So take this in and scooch back up. I kind of like mine right below my screws, kind of like that. And we got the other side. Fix it and lift it up. Fix it, fix it, lift it up. All right, just like so. All right, when it's all said and done here, you can see our coils are sitting pretty much centered, and we're at a 0.4, which is exactly where we want it to be. So that ended up being an 8 wrap 26 gauge on the kidney puncher Canthal wire. So let's go ahead and get to the important part of this video. Ray, how do we wick the Zephyrus? I'm going to show you. All right, so hold tight. Let me grab my cotton and we'll get to the wicking of this beautiful Rba deck for the Zephyrus. We'll be right back. Okay, so one last important thing I forgot to do on camera. Of course, this is the hardest part because, again, camera's here right in front of my face, so I'm going to have to try and do this while looking at my laptop. All right, so we need to get these coils nice and perfect because you see, like right here, it's kind of sticking out and all a little funky. We're going to be using these ceramic tipped tweezers that I got from where else but Youde Technology. So let's go ahead and fire this up. Oh. So you can see here, one's firing a lot harder than the other. I wonder why. So let's go ahead and pinch, fire. Pinch, fire. With the ceramic, you can do this. Do not do this with stainless steel tweezers. You will not be happy. Let's see there. It's looking a little bit better. Let's do this side here. Those are looking pretty happy. Oh, watch that. Oh, and they're perfect. Do you see how perfect that is? Watch this. Wait, let me do that again. Oh, it's perfect. Oh, it's perfect. Okay, now we can get to wicking. As always, I have my trusty little Youde hard shell case, which of course sounds like I'm just promoting it, but in all honesty, I really like this thing. So let's go ahead and pull out our piece of Japanese cotton and grab our Youde scissors. Ah, my camera. Let's fix that. See, the hard part about trying to do this on camera. You guys have problems trying to wick this on your own without the camera. Add this thing, oh, it's a nightmare. Okay, enough about me complaining. Let's go ahead and get these wicked up like they need to be. I'm gonna go ahead and cut myself a fairly thin piece of cotton since we're only working with a 2.5 millimeter inner diameter here. So here is our cotton. Cut that in half. All right, get off my fingers. All right, let me reposition myself here. There we go. So hopefully you guys can see what we're doing here. Take our one end and we twist it nice and tight. Is that nice and tight? Let's find out. Yes, it is. So we'll feed that in, get a little shimmy back and forth, and do this side. Now I'm not going to cut away, so that way you guys can really see how this is done. So that way you don't think I'm messing with you here and making it seem like it's a little bit easier than it really is. Because this is not easy. This is not. This is actually a fairly difficult deck to build on. Okay, now, next thing we do is we cut at a diagonal. All right, you see that? Cut at a diagonal. So right at the coil, straight down. It's like that. All right, so that's the first part. Now we still have way too much cotton. So the next thing I do is we go right here, kind of push this down and cut at the base all the way around. Is this clear? Can't see. Hopefully it's clear. Ah. Hope you guys are enjoying this, because I'm not. This is difficult. There we go. But at least once you see this, you'll know exactly how to build and wick the Rba deck and enjoy it as much as I have been enjoying it since I figured out how to wick it right. Still way too much cotton on this one. So trim this back. Give it a little haircut. Still too much. cut. And again, this is probably still too much. And the way to kind of figure it out is once we juice it. Because the thing that happens with cotton, once you get it saturated, it expands. And when it expands, it clogs up your juice well, and you get those horrible, horrible, horrible dry hits. And we don't want you to do that. Get out of my way, camera. I'm trying to do stuff here. All right, so let me go ahead and grab my juice. What do we want to use? Let's use some lemon pound cake by Mother Vapors that I just received. Very tasty juice. So next thing we do here is go through and saturate our cotton. The whole like little paintbrush thing, we kind of paint it on. Do the whole Bob Ross happy clouds. I'm stealing that. That should be Trevor Jones. I'm not the Bob Ross. I'm definitely not the Bob Ross of vaping, especially in this video. I'll probably cuss at least once or twice during this wicking section here. Okay, so let's clear this up for you so you can actually see what's happening. All right, so now you can see still way too much cotton, but at least now we know what's going on here. We can kind of put some into the juice channels. That's my horrible French impression. It's not good. I shouldn't do impressions. Stick to making reviews. It's what I'm good at, right? Probably not even good at that, but whatever. You're watching. That's all that matters. Okay, so feed in here, and see what we're working with. And we're working with too much cotton. So let's take you up close and show you what I mean by too much cotton, because it seems like it should be fine. Okay, so as you can kind of sort of see, there we go, how the cotton's sticking out. This one's kind of good, but it's all the way down to the bottom of the juice channel. It's kind of sloppy looking. This one's almost perfect. So what we got to do now is we'll pull some of that out, trim it back. We will only want to go halfway down the channel. And since these channels are fairly short, doesn't take much. Whatever you do, do not pancake wick the Rba head. You will not be happy. All right, so let's go and do the same with this one now. This one needed just a hair. Like that. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's really nice. And this one is gonna be hard to show you because the ohmmeter's getting in the way. This one needs a little bit more. Let's see. Oh, are you there? Oh, you're there. That's nice. Very, very nice. Oh, that juice smells fantastic. By the way, just so you guys know, this lemon pound cake Mother Vapors. Very, very, very tasty. If you're wondering what it tastes like, it's lemon pound cake. Just so you guys know. Okay. So this is a little too thick. So what I'm going to do is trim off the excess on the side. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. And throw that back in there. Just like so. Right? This one probably could use a little bit more of a trim. Now you can see why these are considered advanced vapors only should be using these. But luckily with the Zephyrus, you can always buy the pre-made coil heads and not have to suffer through the whole build process. But if you suffer through the build process and you build and wick it right, this is one of the best tanks out there that I've used. Though you do suffer a little bit of flavor loss from the excess airflow, but you get a mighty, mighty good vape. And I keep hitting my microphone, so that's probably going to show up. So my microphone's right here too. Everything's right here where I'm trying to build. It's just not fun. Okay. Almost done. See, the wicking is the most important part of this build. The coils are nothing. Okay. I think we're good. I think we're good. Oh, maybe not that one yet. There. Just like that. Is that clear? God, I hope that's been clear. I'm not actually looking at my screen now. I gotta pay attention to what we're doing here. This one, oh, it's got a little bit of schmutz down there in the channel. All right, let me get you nice and up close here. Okay, so now you can see there's our coil, and you can see how the wick is not sticking out past the posts. And it's just barely in the channel, just barely. That's how you want it to look. That clear, clear, clear. See how that is? Just enough to block juice from flooding, but not too much to where it dries it out and you get those dry hits. So there you go. That is how it is built. And then of course we put our chimney cap on. Goes on with ease. Our coils are not touching the sides of our chimney, and my leg's shaking because I'm resting on it. So it looks kind of like that. And you could always go through if you wanted to and take a spare piece of Kanthal and kind of just go in there and move your cotton around. But you shouldn't have to do that if it's built correctly. So there you go, you guys. That is the rebuild portion for this wonderful RTA / clearmizer / just awesomeness. So there it is. I hope this build tutorial helps you. I hope now you can figure out the wicking and how to build the proper coil in there. And just so you guys know, this is the coil that I was using on the last half of the review portion of this video. So that way you know exactly how it worked before you even watch me build it. All right, you guys, so thank you for watching. Hopefully this works for you and you enjoyed it and maybe you got some laugh out of my troubles. So thank you guys for watching. And as always, vape on.